Good, I'm glad that's how she put that in. Focus on the positive. Okay, now we're back to that person who was late for work, right? They didn't really know. Like truly, you're thinking, well, how could they not know they're late for work? But maybe they just thought they're late. They didn't know it affected everybody else. They didn't know that you held up starting the meeting until they got there because you figured everybody just chit-chats at the beginning of the meeting anyway. So it's a big deal if you roll in 5-10 minutes late. Maybe they didn't, okay? We give them the benefit of the doubt. So you have to have this conversation with this person, and this is really with anything that we talk about. Say something positive, then you can talk about whatever the problem is or the criticism that you may have, and then say something positive again. You know, so you bring me to your office. You know, I'm really glad you're working here. You're like a ray of sunshine some days, you know, you come in and you're happy and all that. But I just want you to know that when you're late, here's how it affects the rest of the staff. Can't start our meeting on time, so-and-so can't leave her shift or whatever the case may be. And so now that you realize that, is that reasonable to ask you if you can work me in on time? Now then you're not saying, be on time, you're gonna lose your job, this is a warning, all that kind of stuff that really deflates all the teamwork you're trying to create. You ask a question instead. One of my favorite is that a reasonable request? Is it going to be difficult for you to be here at 9? And then they'll say no. You know, usually, I mean, no one's going to go, yeah, I just can't be here at 9, so I should probably quit. You know what I mean? But most people are going to say, yeah, no, I can be here at 9. And they'll say, okay, so that's a reasonable request. Yeah. They've taken accountability for it. It's not a one-way conversation. Because if you need to be here, I'm done with you, bye-bye. You know, and you've all seen that, or maybe been a part of it where you go in, you get scolded, and you leave. You know, you're not engaged, you feel like you've been beat up, or whatever the case may be, whether it's with your kids, your spouse, your in-laws, whoever it is, you know, sometimes you're not engaged in it and you're not taking accountability for your part in it. But once you've already said you're going to be here, and you've told me that's reasonable, I think you're on board. And then you know what? And I'm glad. I'm glad that you think that's reasonable. I'm glad that you're going to be here because I wouldn't want to lose you. I love you as part of our team. I think you got a lot of potential in this area or what have you. And you leave them on a positive note too. So it always is in a sandwich. That's what I say anyway. It's a positive sandwich. So you say something positive, you kind of fill the middle with what you need to talk about, maybe what the concern is, the problem is, the criticism is, and then you make sure and have something positive before they leave. Don't you think that works a whole lot better than just come? Okay. And
start out positive and then throw in whatever the problem is and then end it with a positive.
Are those all verbal or are they written?
They're written and then verbal.
And those are accepted pretty well? Okay. Awesome. I mean, that's what you have to think about. And then now let's say another thing that you're trying to ask somebody questions, build teamwork a little bit, focus on the positive, see what they can do, and then you're going to add more work to them. Is that happening now? Are you guys seeing that a lot? What are you kind of feedback are you getting then when you have those type of conversations?
For the most part, positive because I'm somebody that's going to pitch in and help with the workload.
So you lead by example. Very good. Yeah.
I did have a question. I have a staff that anytime I say anything to her, and I'm thinking probably I need to do this positive sandwich better, but she is so sensitive that even something minor, she mulls it over, and then I find out a day or two later that Mary hates me because, you know, this is what she said to me, and I don't think she thinks I'm a good nurse, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I don't know how you can be a nurse for 26 years and not have thicker skin than that.
Right. And are you thinking that you haven't had a sandwich with her? Yeah. Hasn't had the old pot? Yeah. Well, it's hard to because you know what? We don't have time. Do you know what I mean? It's hard. It's really hard. Like I had a client and she, people would write her emails and she worked in a law office and I came in and I coached their entire law office. Boy, was that dysfunctional, I gotta tell you. Anyway, and she would write back, somebody would write her a really nice email and then she would, in her answer, she would just put, I don't know, or not right now, or whatever, and send it off. And I don't know how, do you use email a lot? It seems like you're okay, you do still. Oh gosh, okay. So, I've created a template for her. And it says, hi, and she actually has to put in the name. Thank you for your email. And then at the end, it says, please let me know if you have any other questions or concerns. Have a great day. So now, every time she goes to respond, that comes up. Because people just thought she was so short and so rude. And she wasn't necessarily, but she just didn't do the whole sugar-coated thing. And I said, but that makes people feel bad. And it takes you 2 seconds, But we feel like we don't have enough time to do all those little niceties, but we do. We do. I mean, everybody in this room, this is a challenge for you today. Okay, it's 2:10. So you have, what time do you go to bed? 8, 10? Midnight? 1? Okay, so you have like 8, 9, 10 hours, and you have to compliment 3 people before you go to bed today. 3 people, okay? And some of you already did it in this room just by introducing somebody. And does that make you feel good? I mean, all it takes is a minute. And then mean it if you're going to do it, okay? Don't just walk on by and be like, hey, it was a great job you did yesterday. And then you just keep going. How many people do that? Hey, how's your day? I don't really care. I'm just asking. But you try and act like you care, and then you keep going. I used to make fun of, I worked with someone who did that all the time. I would turn and go, this is really great. Thanks for asking. This is a wonderful conversation we're having. Because they just walk right on by, And make it substantial. What did they do? When it comes to a compliment, make it substantial. Just don't say, you did a great job. Well, okay, that makes you feel good though, right? You did a great job. But how about the way you talked to that resident yesterday when they were frustrated and how calm you were? It was perfect. And I'm just proud to know you and work with you. That took 5 seconds maybe, tops. But you said the same thing, you did a great job, but since it's specific to what they did, it feels so much better, doesn't it? It's like the difference between, and I always go back to little kids because we're all little kids at heart. It's the difference between just getting 100% on your paper and getting 100%, very good job, excellent, nice writing, good penmanship, wonderful, showing your work. But how much longer did it take that teacher to write that? Another second. Yeah, she's got to write 40 of them, but still, I'm just talking about the meaning and how it makes people feel. And then are you going to do that again? Probably. You're going to act that way again? Probably. Just because you were told what you did well. Now all of a sudden you're like, oh, thanks. And the next time you think you're going to do something well, you do it again because it felt good to get complimented. It's really, 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 really important to build that kind of teamwork. Now with the whole email thing, so everybody uses emails, even the ones that are more patient care, more client care, you guys are still having to check email all the time? Oh, good night. Okay, so when do you have time to do that? When do you check email? All day long? Okay, do you have to have it, like are you in positions where you have to have, respond to email right away, all day? Okay, so now we have to train people because then we get a little bit overloaded, okay? Then we're like attached to our Blueberry, our Crackberry, our Blackberry. Everything's like ringing and we got a personal phone over here because we can't use that and everything's going off at one time. So what we have to do, we have to really kind of train people as to when we're going to do things, especially since a lot of you are managers. So let's say that you just look at your email right away in the morning. I had a boss supervisor, if I wrote him an email at 9:01 a.m., I knew I was not going to get a response till the next day. And when I asked him one time, I said, well, do you not check your email, or how do you, he goes, I do it all day. That's all I do all day, would be to sit here and look through email. But if I do it, and I do it like in a block of time, and I come in, I can get it all done at one time. Otherwise, it's just like people having a conversation and someone going, hey, right during all someone's interrupting you all day long. Because then you respond or you minimize something, you forget that you did it, that sort of thing. And you can't really concentrate on what you need to do, especially if it's a staff member asking something, But then if your staff member knows that, okay, I know she checks her email in the morning, I'm sure I'll get a response tomorrow, or maybe I should just save the draft because she's not going to look at it anyway, then you kind of train those that you work with to not have that expectation, and you can spend a little bit more time on that. Because email is just critical now. It's blown everything out of proportion. I mean, somebody writes in capital letters, you think they're yelling at you. Somebody writes and says, okay, we're going to have a staff meeting on Wednesday. We really need to focus on our goals for this year. Everyone needs to be there. Well, that's what I heard when I read it, but somebody else may have heard, everybody needs to be there, and oh my gosh, she's mad. But you don't know what they mean. It's all like that. So that's really important because you don't want to get all overloaded with different communication when you're trying to build teamwork and people have different expectations. Because then all of a sudden somebody else heard back from Mary and then nobody, but these people didn't, and well, I wrote her, but she didn't respond to me. Well, and it just becomes all convoluted. So see what you can do about that, and that'll work, okay? Now the bottom line in all of this, we've got about 5 more minutes here. The bottom line in all of this is none of this is going to work, none of these tactics are going to work if you don't feel good about yourself. Okay? And it's one of those things, I'm a personal development coach. This is stuff you can use in work and outside of work. But if you don't take care of yourself, it's the old airplane thing. If you don't you have to put your mask on first before taking care of other people. If you don't take care of yourself, if you're not able to lead by example, how do you expect everybody else to be on board? If you're the one who's tired, if you're the one who's not getting enough sleep, how do you expect to lead? How do you expect to be a good communicator? How do you expect to give what you can give to your potential? How many hours of sleep a night do you guys get? 7, 8 is what you need, right? How many of you eat or go longer than 4 hours without eating? Yeah, bad idea. Bad idea. Doesn't have to be a huge calorie thing, I mean, unless, you want it to be. But bad idea. You need that energy. You need to keep going because how are you supposed to have any of these conversations? How are you supposed to be that person, that sounding board? How are you supposed to really focus on the problem, on the issue, if you're exhausted, if you haven't eaten, if you're crabby, if you got a headache, if you're a smoker and you go outside, and you got 100 million things going on? How are you supposed to focus on all these things and be that nucleus for your team? So it's really important. And one thing that you all can do, and this is a big takeaway, and I really hope you will all do me the favor of doing this for yourselves and for me. I'll call you all later. No, I won't. But when somebody asks you to do something, and it's outside of work, or even if it is work-related, give yourself a second and say, when do you need to know? Or I need to check my schedule. Or can I check with my husband, wife, dog, Great Dane, whatever you want. And give yourself that little bit of cushion so you don't get overloaded, stressed, tired, exhausted, spent. Because if you're like me, you've learned by mistakes and you commit to things and you overcommit, and then you're like the client that went to work and hated her job but had nothing to do with her job, you just got too much going on. So before I say, yes, I'm going to bake 4 dozen cookies for, the open house next week, I have to give myself that chance to go look at my calendar. And the times I've said yes, and then I go back and look and I'm like, oh, why did I say I'd do that? Seriously, I've got to be on the road next week. Oh my gosh. And then I'm all stressed out. And then my husband says, well, call back and say you won't. Well, of course he says that, right? And I'm like, no, I'll feel guilty. I'm Catholic. I was raised to feel guilty. I feel guilty about everything. So I'm not going to say no or say I'll do something, then have to backtrack and say no, so then I get stressed. Then when it comes to having any of these, whether it's dealing with my kids, dealing with my in-laws, dealing with somebody at work, I'm not as good at it because I'm already stressed out about something. So do yourselves a favor and ask for that little bit of break, okay? Ask for that little bit of break. Get rejuvenated. Get your life ready because you need to lead by example. Like you said, Mary, you need to lead by example. You need to be the one that's going to say, hey, we've got more to do, but I'm right here with you. Not, hey, we've got more to do and I don't have time to do it. So all y'all going to do it. You're going to say, I'm here, right here with you, right? Okay. Who can, yes, please.
Sometimes I have to do that with some of my staff. They have a lot of different programs, so sometimes I have a lot of blank spaces, and so you're on the phone with somebody trying to get them to fill in. You've got these certain staff that no matter when it is, what time of day it is, or whatever, they're going to say yes. although you want that yes, you have to say, okay, I'm gonna call you back in 10 minutes. You go check your calendar, make sure that you don't have anything else going on, check, make sure you're not gonna be overtime, because you know this person is famous for going overboard.
Uh-huh.
Saying yes to every single person in the world. So you have to know your staff too.
Right?
And tell them to stop for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I would take that yes like this if
Uh-huh.
it's from somebody else. But if it's from certain staff, it's like, you gotta go check.
Right. And you've learned that from experience.
Right?
Yes. Did somebody have something? Did I hand go up? Yes.
What would you say to people I like to say that make cleaning their favorite hobby?
Oh,
They may be
gosh.
great staff and do well with the residents and their work and they get their job done.
Mm-hmm.
Their favorite pastime is just to,
They're kind of like a cancer in your association. Yes. I mean,
like I said, they're good with the residents, they do their job well.
Uh-huh.
You know, you can't blame them for any technical thing that they're doing.
mm-hmm.
But every minute they get to chat or you're working together and it's oh this and oh that and oh first shift, oh second shift. And shit,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't do this. They didn't do that.
Well, it's hard because that's actually sometimes when I come in as a coach to figure out what is wrong. And I would tell you most of the time, it has nothing to do with work. You know, I don't know what.
Staff, but even a couple residents.
Right.
Residents, it seems like that's their hobby. That's their favorite thing to do. That's what makes them happy. is
They
to
just
complain.
want to complain. So are they complaining? It's staff complaining to you, or everybody? It's a staff member who's
Well,
there.
I could think of like two specifics to staff and one specific resident that no matter what you do
Mm-hmm.
to try to make everything great, the place could be award-winning, perfect facility of the year, sparkling clean, and everyone loves each other, and they
Right.
can still find something.
They'd still find something to complain about.
Just
Whenever I don't know what to do, and I'm not, saying I always do, I don't. Whenever I don't know what to do, then I start asking questions. And I kind of put it back on there, like, well, what would make you happy? What suggestions do you have? And I'm very much a person, I like to engage the opposition sometimes. Like I've served on some boards and there's somebody who's always complaining. Like I was on the YMCA board for a very long time and we had a member who, this wasn't clean and that wasn't clean and the fitness machines are, and all this kind of stuff. I said, ask him to be on the board. Ask him to be on board. Everybody's like, no, all they do is complain. It's going to be awful. And I'm like, maybe they just feel powerless. Maybe they have ideas. Maybe they see how hard it is to keep everything clean. So if it's something where those people can be engaged a little bit more to see the flip side of what you're doing, that might work. Okay.
I'm a very lead by example, and I raise things and questions all the time. I tell the girls all that all the time. They usually, most of them call me mom now when I try to
Oh, cute.
something
Yeah.
do different.
Uh-huh. Okay, Mom.
But I've given her, okay, well, if you don't think we're doing it right, well, here you go. I want you to develop a way to do it that would be better.
Right.
And, they'll do it and they'll put some effort in and kind of phases out, and then it's something.
Then it's something different. Well, and like you said, you can't change people. And that's a problem. We think we can. We think we can control how people act. And boy, wouldn't that be wonderful. This person's going to be nice to me today. Yay! This person's not going to give me any trouble today. But what you can control is your reaction to it. And that's all we have. So if you know that, my father was 80 years old when he passed away, and he complained about everything till the day he died. And I was like, I had to realize at some point I was not going to change him. But I could not let it get me down. I could not let it get me frustrated, and that sort of thing.
I guess the specific person I was working with was out of medical leave for a few months, and I worked really hard. We really brought together the team, and we were all working together, and everything was very positive. And then that person came back,
Mm-hmm.
and not that she's not a great worker, she is.
Right.
But once again, now she's on light duty, and plus I see when she works that she tends to draw the other people into it, because that's kind of how she
Yeah.
gets the power struggle. That's how she gains that
Right.
role.
Yes. Well, and it is your reaction to it. And people say, well, I can't work with so-and-so, and I was doing a workshop much like this, and we talked about, it was all about choices. And someone said, well, I don't feel like I have a choice. I have to work with this person, and she's awful. And I said, well, what do you do at lunch? Well, we all go out to lunch together, and all she does is complain all through lunch. And I said, well, how about not going out to lunch with her? That's the first thing. And then maybe it's one of those things where you ask to be reassigned or you ask to be put somewhere else. You know, and the bottom line is, and not that anybody wants to hear this, but you could quit. If somebody's making you that miserable, you have a choice. You are not forced to be where you are. If this person is that miserable, is it something they don't want to do anymore? Everybody has choices, and we don't, you know, I was forced to do this, and I hate having to do that, and that, you know, really? I mean, I might be a little offended, but any of you could get up and walk out right now. There's nothing that I can do about it. We all have choices, and we're all where we're supposed to be, but maybe that person is just not sure, and is kind of looking to have somebody give them that little push they need. I don't know how bad it is, but something to think about. Something to think about. Yeah.
We had a resident similar to that, and our social worker challenged her to smile once a day and challenged her to say one nice thing whenever Jackie went into that room. And the more she did it, the easier it got. And then she kind of got the other staff, she got the CNAs to do the same thing, and she got the nurses to do the same thing. And no, it didn't change her, but it made her a whole lot easier to deal with.
Yeah, you have to think of little things that'll work. Find out what their motivation is, what makes them happy, what makes them want to be there. Yeah.
I've used policies that there's, you know, two different types of staff. You have the task-oriented staff and you have the client-focused staff. And I kind of explained that as a team, I need you both. I said, you are really good. You know, I appreciate the fact that you can get the dishes done, you can get the OSHA done, you can keep your toning done, you can straighten the closet, you can do all of that. I said, but the clients also need somebody who's willing to stop with the dishes and drop what they're doing and listen to them and be there for them. I said, we need both. It's a balance. This is what you're really good at, but they're really good at that, and the clients need that.
Yeah. And now you're saying that in reaction to what? To somebody complaining or?
I mean, if it's, I don't want to say it petty, but if it's simply about, oh, somebody didn't fold the towels.
Oh, see. Okay.
Came in and there were still towels in the dryer.
Right.
You know, to me, that's more, you know what, if the weather was nice and they decided to go for a walk and let the towels in the dryer, I'm okay with that. The clients need help.
Right, right. Very good. Well, and that's important too because you can't all have, like if I only worked with people like me, I would be miserable. Everybody would drive me crazy. I need somebody who is like, because my emotions can go like this. I can be like the biggest cheerleader and then I can cry at the drop of a hat if it's a commercial. You know what I mean? So I'm like this. And I need sometimes people to balance me. And that's what makes a good team. You know, you're going to have your center on the basketball team, but you have to have your guard. You know, you're going to have whatever you need on your team to make it work. And that's a great approach to it when people, you know, are complaining or something little. Everybody has positive attributes. Everybody does. Everybody does, or they wouldn't be there. I think you can find the good in anybody, especially if they're willing to work in your line of work and they're willing to put the time in, that they've got good hearts. You know, and you just got to find out what makes them tick. I'm here today to tell you about your job and make you realize once again how much you love it. Now this could say, I love my job, and then some days you're probably like, I love my job, right? It kind of varies between the two. Well, we all find our place in life and where we're supposed to be. And we have to know that everything happens for a reason. It might take you a while to figure out what that reason is, but why you're here right now, what you're doing tomorrow, what you're doing for your career, it's all part of a plan of where you're supposed to be and what you're doing and what you love. As I was introduced, and as she said, I grew up in North Dakota. I was born in Fargo. How many of you seen the movie Fargo? Yeah, all righty. And, you know, when the movie Fargo came out, I was pregnant, so I went as the sheriff for Halloween. Everybody thought I was the sheriff. Oh, yeah. So I can slip back into that very easily. So I grew up in North Dakota, loved it, very safe place to grow up, very safe place. 600,000 people in the whole state. It is booming now, though, a little bit of an oil boom in my hometown of Minot, the Magic City, we call it. It grew up it just boomed overnight, so they called it the Magic City. That's what happened there. And not too far south of Canada, very cold. Rugby, North Dakota is the center of North America. This is trivia for you, so when you play and you get those little pies, you'll know that one. Rugby, North Dakota, center of North America. Wonderful place to grow up. I grew up in Minot, and I asked this yesterday. We'll see who remembers. Why not Minot? Reason's the reason. You get a prize. You get a prize. I'll get you one. I'll steal one of these. Okay. So yay, Friesen's the reason. Not that the chamber likes that idea, of course, to have your town say Friesen's the reason. But it's also home of Minot Air Force Base. Do I have any military folks here? Anybody former military family? Okay. And we have a slogan coming into the Air Force Base that says, only the best come north. Because what happens is when men, women get their assignments, they join the Air Force and they want to see the world and they think they're going to Aviano, Italy or Ramstein, Germany, and they get Minot, North Dakota. I met some guys, he said, I've never cried in my life, and I cried when I got that assignment. So we really embrace them, show them how important they are. That city loves its military, loves its military. They get treated with the utmost respect, and I'm proud to be from there because of that. Then I went to the University of North Dakota for school, the Fighting Sioux of North Dakota U, which is now a big debate, of course, whether to keep the name, whether to not. There's a man by the name of Ralph Engelstad, Engelstad Arena. Do I have any hockey fans? All right. Are you a Badger fan then, I'm assuming? Oh! Is there a doctor in the house? Oh my gosh, Gopher fan? Oh shoot, hang on. My heart rate's okay. All right, I'm teasing. When we go to the Badger games, we say we look like frogs in a blender because you see these little splats of green for North Dakota in the big red arena. But so Ralph Engelstad put the Fighting Sioux emblem in marble throughout this arena, knowing one day that it was going to be an issue and he never wanted it to change. So it becomes a money versus a political decision, and I will tell you today that my father graduated from law school from the University of North Dakota, and he did pro bono work for Native American tribes in North Dakota for a very long time, and a lot of research before he passed away, and what it says is that the University of North Dakota offers more grants, more scholarships, more leadership opportunities for Native Americans than any place else in the country. So just keep that in the back of your mind when you hear those debates and who thinks what, because it is something we're very proud of that we felt we did a good job, and whether that turns out to be, and they can call it the Fighting Curians, I don't care. I don't understand what the debate is. But it might turn, you never know, but Fighting Sioux, North Dakota U, that's where I went to school. And I went to school, and I wanted to be a basketball coach, and I wanted to teach high school algebra. And the reason for that is those were the people who had an impact on my life. My coaches, right? Your teachers. And I wanted to be like them. They had such, I just wanted to be able to make a difference in their lives, in other people's lives. And so when I went to school and I opted out of some math courses, tested out of some math courses, and of course it's a little rare. I was with men, they're supposed to be better at math, all this kind of stuff. Tell my husband that, he doesn't even balance the checkbook. But so I went through all those classes, and I found myself, this isn't what I wanted to do. I had the guy sit next to me with a little pocket protector and the glasses, pushing it with a little tape. Felt like I was in the nerd movies, and it was over my head. It was over my head, really. And I had to think,